The 8th episode of the 4th season is finally here and starts right where we left off, with Roger's body lying on the ground after being impaled by one of the wooden totems. But at least daylight has broken and the other monsters are gone, so Boyd takes a few minutes to check the body and make sure he is really dead. On top of that, he worries about Steve, who took a real beating but is at least still alive. Donna reveals to Boyd that without Elgin, this would have turned out much worse. So the boy has finally decided to be useful, meaning it would be a good idea to end his punishment and use him for other tasks. However, before Boyd can make a decision, a couple starts arguing behind his back because they are terrified by what happened and are thinking about leaving the colony house. People are scared and on edge because they have realized that the talismans cannot protect them against every single bad thing that shows up in this place. And if that is true, it is a valid reason to be worried. But they have always found a way to fight back, or at least that is what Donna believes. A few seconds later, Sophia appears with a half smile on her face, but then she switches into actress mode and asks Boyd if his plan worked and if the totems are actually useful against the night monsters. But when he reveals that it was an absolute failure and they almost lost Kenny, she tells him she is so sorry, even though she is actually thrilled to have yet another way to mess with their minds. Before they can decide what to do with the body, Ellis shows up and asks his father to come with him right away. However, Boyd had already thought of a solution and orders Acosta to get a bonfire ready. They are going to burn the corpse completely. Up in the attic, Fatima is extremely worried and has something very important to tell them. She describes how last night she was able to see through that creature's eyes, and that her scream was what stopped that thing for the few seconds Kenny needed to save himself. Yet, after that happened, she started feeling cold inside, and this morning a rash broke out all over her body, looking as if her veins were beginning to turn black. Seeing this, Boyd has no idea what to do. His son needs his advice and help, but for the first time in a while, he has just run into something he was not prepared for. This is completely new. They do not know if being able to see where they are heading is an advantage or a curse that could kill Fatima at any moment. On the other hand, over at Tabitha's house, Ethan has started drawing frantically, just like Victor used to do a long time ago. Her son is sketching every single member of the community who is still alive. He does not want to forget them if something happens to them. Tabitha does not want her son spending time with Victor anymore, at least not for now. After what he said yesterday about everyone dying soon, and Ethan being the sole survivor, she is not quite sure that spending time with him is the best idea. But taking away his only friend does not seem like the right move, especially since his relationship with his son has improved so much, so she decides to tackle the issue from the other side and speak directly with Victor. Boyd leaves Fatima in his son's hands for the time being. He needs to go talk to Jay, who has finally built a model of the tunnels, but it looks like a pile of junk on the table, and nobody can make sense of it except for him. At first, Boyd does not understand anything he is looking at, but once Jay starts explaining the tunnels, the pathways, the potential entrances, and how they could execute the plan, everything begins to make a bit more sense. And he keeps talking and talking, but the only thing that remains completely clear to Boyd is that the chamber where the bones are supposed to be has only one way in. And according to his time in the army, during the few years he spent there, that is what they call a shooting gallery. It is a place where everybody dies, and there is absolutely no doubt about it. Because of this, any plans Boyd has come up with can be forgotten. They need a way to solve this problem, as the chamber is a death sentence. If they manage to get through the tunnels and retrieve the bones, what will they do when those things wake up and block their only way out? Whatever they come up with next has to be better than everything they planned before. Jay does not like that everything he figured out is going out the window and makes it crystal clear, but Boyd does not plan to risk everyone's lives on a plan that is obviously a terrible idea. This might be the last card they have left, and they need to play it right. Kenny comes outside to tell him he did not have to be so harsh on Jay, who is trying really hard to come up with a strategy, but Boyd stands by his words. They cannot go into a place with only one exit. They will die, without a doubt. And just as they are about to keep arguing, he hears a couple of gunshots right behind him. So he reacts quickly and spins around, but the only problem is that he is the only one who heard the shots, leaving Kenny completely baffled, trying to figure out what is going on. And even though he does not know it yet, we recognize them as the two gunshots from the time he had to kill his wife. Meanwhile, Henry walks into the diner and notices it is a total mess, so he asks what is going on, and the manager tells him Boyd ordered everything to be pulled out of storage. They are trying to find any clue about the guy in the yellow suit, since they still have no idea who he is. what he is planning, or when he will get there. Henry confesses that he has been drinking heavily lately and is trying to stop, but he needs to keep himself busy. Realizing the old man is reaching out for a lifeline, she tells him he should help her with lunch. Anyone can learn how to cook, and maybe it will be his thing. Before they can show him the kitchen, one of the diner's speakers kicks on and starts playing his late wife's favorite song, making it an incredibly bizarre moment that takes him a couple of seconds to process. Back at the colony house, the people have gathered a wood pyre and started burning Roger's body, just as Tabitha is arriving with Ethan, and the boy notices Sophia waving at him pleasantly, so he waves back at her. Tabitha goes straight up to Victor's room and demands that he tell her son he will not be left all alone in this place, but Victor refuses. Everything he believes tells him it will happen, so he thinks it is best for the boy to learn how to be on his own. Surprisingly, the kid agrees. He asks his mother to leave them because he wants to learn everything Victor can teach him about what he did when it happened to him. If history is bound to repeat itself, Ethan wants to be prepared. After all, she was the one who put the idea in their heads that this has happened many times before, and now it is up to her son to decide what he wants to do. As for Fatima, she is completely terrified when they are about to run the ultrasound over her stomach, but it looks like there is nothing inside. Christy can only tell her that if they were in the normal world, those would just be veins caused by the stretching of the abdomen. But knowing they are in this place where nothing makes sense, she needs to run a couple more tests to give her an accurate diagnosis. Overwhelmed by worry for Fatima, Ellis loses his cool and ends up insulting Christy, calling her useless, but his father orders him to shut up and understand that nothing here is what it seems. He did not raise him to take his anger out on the people trying to help him. At that moment, Marielle tells her that maybe it is a side effect of what she did last night. After all, she heard the story that, thanks to her, Kenny is still alive, so maybe messing with the monster is what caused this. For now, the only thing they can offer them is for her to stay a couple of days in the clinic so they can monitor her vital signs and make sure this thing does not spread through her entire body. While that is happening, Jay cannot find a way to improve his previous plan. The image of the chamber where the bones are located is burned into his mind, and there is always only one way out. Jay begs Kenny to tell Boyd that he has to accept the fact that maybe not everyone who goes into that place will make it out alive, and someone will have to sacrifice themselves so the others can escape. Maybe that is why nobody has ever left this place before, because nobody has had the guts to face those things directly and walk right into their home. But Kenny fires back that until he sees that Jay is actually willing to sacrifice himself for others, he will not do anything he is asking, and he better keep brainstorming more ideas. Outside the clinic, Boyd waits for Christy to come clean with her. Earlier, when she asked if he was still seeing things, he lied to her. Not only is he seeing them, he is hearing them, and now his hand will not stop shaking. Worst of all, the only thing tying it all together is Abby, his wife, and it all started when he visited her grave and had a vision of her arm reaching out of the dirt and pulling him under. Later, at the colony house, he saw their wedding photo on a children's toy, plus the fact that her wedding ring appeared out of nowhere on his nightstand, and now he cannot stop hearing the gunshot that ended her life. He knows perfectly well that this place messes with your head, but this feels completely different, and he just wants to know why it is happening right now, at the exact moment they are about to do something that could actually get them out of here. He cannot decide if it is his wife telling him not to do it, or those things trying to mess with him so they fail. Christy understands completely that he is under a lot of stress, but Boyd tells her to save the Hippocratic speech and just give him something, a pill that can help him hold it together a little longer. At least until Jay comes up with a solid plan and they can figure out if there is actually a real chance of getting out of this place. Meanwhile, we see Sophia arrive at the police station and, realizing she is completely alone, she goes into Boyd's room and starts rummaging through all his drawers until she finally manages to find her yellow jacket. The first thing she does is pack it into a suitcase and head straight back to Sarah's house, where Sarah is waiting to confront her for disappearing the night before, without mentioning she would be sleeping over at the colony house. Noticing that Sarah is very sharp and is asking some pretty challenging questions, Sophia decides to play the victim. She tells her that maybe she isn't handling the reality of this place very well and is falling apart, just to get Sarah to change her attitude and comfort her, making her forget about what is inside the suitcase. Sarah does exactly that. She stops nagging her and mentions that if she needs fresh clothes, they can go to a place where she will find something that fits. Sophia thanks her for the help and heads inside. As for Victor, he takes Ethan and his mother to a massive shipping container out by the edge of the woods and tells them that when he came outside and saw all the bodies, that was the very first day he saw the boy in white. He told him there were 3 things he would need to survive. The first was food, and he showed him this shipping container that was packed to the brim with cans of preserved peaches. And that was the only thing he ate, along with some bugs and plants he found along the way, which he drew pictures of so Ethan could study them. But the hardest thing he had to face was the loneliness, and the boy in white told him he should make friends, even if they weren't alive. So Victor listened to him and made a few imaginary friends. He drew a face on a box and talked to it every single night. But Ethan won't have to resort to a box, because Victor has a couple of toys he made out of cardboard, scraps, and his mother's clothes, so that if what he fears actually happens, Ethan will have something much better to talk to at night. Thinking about all this and realizing what Victor is implying, Tabitha snaps and tells him to stop. Nothing he is saying helps, because Ethan is never going to be alone. She won't allow it and tells Victor that he doesn't just have his mother's memories, but also the deep love she felt for him. This time, things will be different. Not only will she get Ethan home, but Victor is coming back with them too, and neither of them will ever be alone again. So none of this is necessary. The strange thing is that the exact words Tabitha is saying right now are the ones Victor heard from his own mother, and that is the final straw for her. So they decide to get out of there as fast as possible. Back at the diner, Henry is chopping cabbage when one of the volunteers drops a tray, and the noise transports him to a completely different place. He is on a hospital gurney, and next to him is a young man trying to clean up the mess he just made. Realizing the old man is awake, the boy calls out to Victor, calling him Dad, and tells him that Grandpa just woke up. 2 seconds later, Victor walks through the door and begs his father not to leave again, asking him to stay with them. Henry asks where he is, and Victor tells him he is in a hospital and that nothing he has seen lately is real, but he is right there with him. His son reminds him that a couple of years ago, he was with his wife, and one night they decided to try acid, something Henry remembers perfectly. Victor tells him the drug was laced and put him into a coma, and they have been in that hospital ever since that day. Victor tells him that the boy from earlier was his grandson, and that Mom just boarded a plane and will be there very soon. But all of this sounds way too perfect for Henry to actually believe it. Right then, he has some kind of attack that snaps him right back to the diner. After seeing all that, he forgets about chopping the cabbage and runs out of there as fast as he can. As for Fatima, she and Ellis are getting into it once again. He is incredibly worried about her, but she is starting to think that what Marielle said might actually make sense. If her body paid the price for trying to control that creature, maybe that isn't entirely a bad thing. A rash in exchange for saving a life isn't that high of a price, and she is beginning to think she might be able to control the monster. But Ellis is terrified that something much worse will happen to her. To him, the thought of losing her is just too terrifying. He can take whatever this place throws at him, but every time something happens to her, he feels completely helpless. However, Fatima reminds him that this is her life, and he has no idea how she felt when that thing was inside her body, so he can't tell her what to do. He can either back her up or walk away. Those are his options. Back with Jay, he loses his patience and smashes all his work in a fit of rage. But then, he starts repeating the words Boyd told him. That part about the shooting gallery, and he starts to think there might be a way to pull it off because he clearly remembers looking up from inside the cave and seeing a patch of sunlight. At the station, Boyd just realized that someone stole the suit, but a few seconds later, Jay shows up and tells him he finally figured it out and needs them to come with him right away. While that is happening, we see Sophia walking into Tabitha's house and searching through everything, just like she did at the police station, including Ethan's drawings, and she starts gathering them all up to take them with her. Back with Jay, he takes the guys over to the bottle tree and tries to look up, remembering the pattern the branches made when he was down in the cave. So he starts moving slowly, trying to get the branches to line up exactly the way they did back then. Once they are in position, Jay tells them they are standing right on top of the cave where the bones are, and if they can find the exact spot where the branches come together to form the symbol he saw, then they will have their second exit. But since the upper branches of this tree don't look like the symbol he managed to see, it means it's about the root system underneath, and what they need to do is rip the tree out by its roots so they can see the exact cavern right beneath them. So this is the plan. They go into the tunnels, reach the chamber, and blow up the entrance, locking themselves completely inside and setting up a couple of talismans to make sure the monsters can't get in. Once they have the bones, the crew topside will rip the tree out using the cars and chains and they will be able to climb out through the hole. However, even though Jay's plan is pretty solid, and Kenny backs him up, Boyd wants a plan B, or at least some way to guarantee that the tree comes out. Because if it doesn't, then everyone who goes down into the cavern will be trapped down there and will surely die. Furious, Jay reminds him that he asked for a solution to an impossible plan, and he delivered. But now Boyd is making it much harder on him. In the end, he tells him to rot with his demands. He just accomplished something nobody else has ever done, and if Boyd isn't happy with that, then he can just stay here and die like the rest. That cuts the conversation short, and Boyd walks away, telling him that until he can guarantee they can pull the tree out, they have nothing left to talk about. A few seconds later, Kenny catches up to him and asks him to wait, but when Boyd turns around, he can only watch as the boy gets shot in the chest and collapses. Right away, he tries to help him, but Kenny ends up dying just a few seconds later. And just when Boyd thinks what he is seeing is real, he realizes that the bodies of Tabitha, Donna, and Jay are lying right next to him. Worst of all is seeing Ellis and his wife. That genuinely leaves him completely terrified, and he starts screaming at the wind, demanding to know what the hell it wants from him. At that exact moment, we see Henry walking through the woods when he comes across a rock painted with a rainbow, just like his wife used to do. And he also starts asking the air what these things he is seeing are and what they mean. He wonders if all of this is actually a lie, and if what he saw in that hospital might be his reality, since everything was so perfect. He repeats his grandson's name, Sebastian, a couple of times, remembering he has his wife's eyes, who is still alive and waiting for him there. He wonders if he will really be able to see her on his next visit to that place, and if it is actually possible to stay. A few seconds later, he hears the same song again and snaps back to the hospital, where Sebastian tells his father that it actually worked, and the music brings him back. And at that moment, the doctor, who is standing right there, reveals to him that he is growing stronger and stronger. Soon he won't have to go back to the nightmare and will be able to live with his family. The doctor tells him that in these cases, the only way for him to stay with them is to disconnect from that unreality he is trapped in, and she explains that he needs to eliminate the anchor keeping him there. A few seconds later, Henry snaps back to the woods and keeps wondering what they mean by eliminating the anchor, breaking down in tears as he realizes he just lost the chance to be happy with his family. So, while he deciphers the hidden message, we head over to the clinic, where Christy is checking Fatima's vitals, just as Fatima asks Marielle if she genuinely believes she could control that creature. Before she can answer, Christy asks her to step outside to talk in private for a moment. Marielle clarifies that she isn't forcing anything. Fatima wants to do this, and if it can help them get out of there, she is willing to guide her through a session. But what Christy tells her next completely freezes her blood. Fatima's blood pressure is 53/33, and at this exact moment, her heart rate is at 19 beats per minute, which means, based on everything she knows about medicine, Fatima shouldn't even be alive right now. That makes Marielle second-guess what she was about to do, as none of it makes any sense, and Christy checked it multiple times, so Fatima is facing something much worse than a rash, but they have no idea how to break the news to her. At that moment, the scene cuts to Tabitha, who allows Victor to take Ethan to visit Donna to make sure her recovery is going well. However, the interesting part happens inside the house, because as soon as she steps through the front door, the phone starts ringing. Once she answers, she can hear Thomas's voice telling her that he needs to see her at the RV, and that if she refuses to comply, he will hurt Ethan and Julie. Meanwhile, we see Boyd getting a visit from the Reverend, who tells him that no plan Jay puts in front of him will ever be good enough because he is obsessed with not losing anyone else, but he needs to get over it. He has to accept that a mission like this comes with risks, and he also has to accept that killing his wife was the right call. This isn't about keeping everybody safe and sound, it's about getting them back home, and there are lives that will be lost, which is completely out of his control. The end is about to repeat itself, and another cycle will begin. It isn't about saving everyone, it's about saving as many as he can. Otherwise, he will become just one chapter in a much longer history of suffering. So it's time for him to step up like a man, accept the consequences, and live with them, because he doesn't have any other damn choice. As soon as the Reverend vanishes, Boyd realizes he is right, but that doesn't keep him from feeling furious. And right away, we cut to Tabitha. She arrives at the RV and finds her son's drawings taped to the ceiling. But that isn't the truly terrifying part. What completely freezes her blood is seeing the man in yellow standing right behind her, thanking her for coming. He asks if she has reached the part where she remembers his name, but seeing the terror in her eyes, he realizes she hasn't, and she still has a long way to go. The old man tells her that her husband died right where she is standing. In fact, she can see his blood right next to her, and he admits the man was pretty brave. That's why he kept one of his teeth. Tabitha asks if he brought her all the way out here to kill her, but he tells her no. That has never been part of the plan, as he actually thought they were friends or something like that. He reveals to her that this time has been the best one yet, and that she and Jay are doing a fabulous job. The moment of her death hasn't come yet, but the reason he brought her here is to tell her that the plan to dig up the bones is a terrible idea. They think it will give them a way out of this place, but they will end up unleashing a world of suffering they have never been exposed to, which would totally ruin the fun. They have played this game many times, and he wants to keep it entertaining, so he charges her with the task of talking the rest out of following through with that plan, or her kids will be the first ones to join his collection of teeth. The 8th episode ends on a massive cliffhanger, leaving us with the distinct possibility that Tabitha might switch sides just to ensure the safety of her children.